coming up tonight on VCU InSight.
I'm Brianna Scott, and I'll tell you why teachers and students are protesting a $3.5 million purchase by VCU.
I'm Maddie Jones, and I'll tell you about the last Swiss Holocaust survivor exhibit.
I'm Chris McKeever, and I'll show you how Black Panther is aiding in the sudden resurgence of interest in comic arts.
All this and more, VCU InSight starts right now.
From the Richard T. Robertson School of Media and Culture at Virginia Commonwealth University, named Best Student Newscast in the Mid-Atlantic, this is VCU InSight.
Good evening and welcome to VCU InSight. I'm Cynthia Beasley.
And I'm Kairis Manzanares. Thank you for joining us.
It's been a month since 21-year-old VCU student Corey Frazier was killed biking home from work. I spoke with members of the cycling community who came together to ride in his memory. Friends, family, and local cyclists took off to ride a route that was the last for Corey Frazier.
It was amazing that people who don't know him would just get up and do this benevolently, and so it really warms my heart and it speaks to his character.
His friends said he almost always rode his bike to and from his job at Max's on Broad, and on February 24th, Frazier was killed by a vehicle at the intersection of Roland and Main Streets in the Fan, just 2 blocks from his home. Local cycling groups DFL and Critical Mass organized this night ride to honor Frazier and promote bicycling safety.
It's important we all show up and show support to the family and let them know that we feel their pain because we're all cyclists too.
Before taking off, they walked to the site of the accident, where they locked a white bike to the street sign and gave the key to Frazier's family.
It's a very obvious sign that something bad happened here, you know, and it's kind of the idea that we want people to see it and be mindful that we're all in this together.
Since the first ghost bike was put up in Missouri in 2003, cyclists all over the world use these to memorialize cyclists who were killed or injured by vehicles.
Just to sort of have that visual thing of this is dangerous, be careful. Can't avoid all of the accidents, but you know, I'd really like to not have to put up any more ghost bikes.
Frazier's mother said she hopes that when drivers and cyclists see this memorial, they will think about someone else's life and be careful.
I'm hoping that Corey didn't lose his life in vain.
If you would like to send condolences or share memories of Corey with the Frazier family, you can do so at grahamfuneralhome.com.
VCU bought the Mansion nightclub on Harrison Street last month. This is the latest of many Richmond properties purchased by the university. Mansion was valued at just over $800,000, but VCU paid $3.5 million. In the past, VCU has faced criticism from students and faculty alike. They question where the money comes from and believe it should be spent elsewhere. Other VCU acquisitions include an auto shop on Carey Street and a couple of restaurants on West Gray Street. In an interview, VCU spokesman Michael Porter pointed out the proximity of these locations to other VCU properties. He says buying the club is part of a larger real estate strategy. Michael Porter says the School of the Arts will use the Mansion building.
And the recent acquisition of the property has inflamed those who were already concerned with VCU's spending choices. VCU InSight's Brianna Scott tells us more.
This purchase is part of the university's One VCU plan, but some VCU students and adjuncts are saying VCU isn't putting money in the right places or pockets.
Y'all care about VCU spending $3.5 million on a nightclub?
One organization, VCU Arts Adjuncts Organizing for Fair Pay, created a petition in December appealing to VCU President Michael Rao for an increase in pay from $800 per credit hour to $2,000. Nationally, adjuncts make around $20,000 per year. Adjunct Professor Tom Burkett says he's making half of that with no benefits.
$1,000 per credit is what I get paid. I teach 2 classes, so into the math, that's $6,000 a semester.
$6,000 per semester is the equivalent of about $5 per hour. That's less than the minimum wage and below the U.S. poverty line. VCU Arts senior John Crater was among the students rallying outside of Mansion nightclub. He was protesting high tuition and calling for an increase in faculty pay.
This is all about students and the people who work with students, because the teachers at VCU are phenomenal, and they don't deserve to be treated like this.
VCU's administration has responded to concerns.
We put together an adjunct task force committee. This task force committee still doesn't have any adjuncts on it, right?
But students and professors are giving themselves a seat at the table. They're encouraging all faculty and students to join the discussion over VCU spending. For VCU InSight, I'm Brianna Scott.
VCU spokesman Michael Porter said in an email that the proposed fiscal year 2019 budget will include an increase in minimum pay for adjunct faculty across the university.
Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods are among the companies who will stop selling guns to anyone under the age of 21. This comes after the Parkland school shooting, which left 17 dead last month. In a statement released on their website, Dick's Sporting Goods said, quote, "Thoughts and prayers are not enough." The company also called on lawmakers to ban assault-style firearms, bump stops, and high-capacity magazines. Kroger announced their Fred Meyer locations will no longer sell guns or ammunition to anyone under the age of 21. In addition, outdoor retailer REI cut ties with more than 50 organizations who have connections to the NRA. The NRA said they do not support any bans or restrictions on firearm purchases.
The Richmond City Health District is currently investigating what may be a mumps outbreak within the VCU area. The RCHD confirmed one case of mumps and is investigating another suspected case in the VCU community. Other cases of mumps have been identified in the Virginia area, and the RCHD wants to make sure students are aware of the risks and symptoms of mumps. Mumps is transmitted through person-to-person contact, and symptoms include body aches, fever, and swelling in the jaw and cheek area. RCHD asks that all students make sure they are up to date on their vaccinations. Please contact Student Health Services with any questions or concerns at 804-828-8828.
A new children's book written by CBS 6 anchor Angie Miles is flying off the shelves.
Short Pump Bump is a collection of poems that celebrate the beauty and history of the city of Richmond. VCU InSight's own Alan Rodriguez Espinoza is on set with the book's illustrator, Scott Dubar, to tell us more about Short Pump Bump. Alan?
Thank you. I'm here with the illustrator of Short Pump Bump, Scott Dubar. Scott graduated from the VCU School of the Arts in 2008 with a communication arts degree. He joins us today to tell us more about the book. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, is this the first children's book that you've worked on?
This is my first published children's book, yes.
And how was that experience for you?
Oh, it was a dream come true. You know, I was so happy when Angie contacted me and asked me if I was willing to participate, and of course, yeah.
What had you worked on in the past as far as illustration goes?
Up until that point, I was doing a lot of editorial illustration for various magazines, and I did some graphic design. I worked with Mike's Harder and designing an illustration for one of their drinks.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of fun things, but doing a children's book is top on my list. Yeah.
Awesome. Now you graduated from VCU from the communication arts program, right?
Yes.
How was the program?
It's an excellent program. I mean, it's I think one of the top illustration programs in the country, and they do a great job with bringing in some of the best illustrators to teach their courses, and they bring in a lot of just stellar illustrators to come in and give talks, and so yeah, it's a very complete and excellent program.
Okay. Now, a lot of people that go into an art degree sometimes worry that they might not have job security in the future. What do you have to say to those people that worry about those things? Do you have any advice for them?
Wow, yeah, I mean, it's definitely intimidating, but I think if you go in with a plan, knowing, give yourself 6 months or a year where you can just really work on that, and don't worry, ideally, if you don't have to have a part-time job and you can just give 6 months or a year to kind of getting your freelance career going, it'll be well worth it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
I've been speaking with Scott Dubar, the illustrator for Short Pump Bump, which is now on sale. I'll send it back to the desk.
According to a report from the Anti-Defamation League, anti-Semitic incidents in the U.S. increased by 60% in 2017. VCU InSight's Maddie Jones is in studio today with more.
That's right, Karis. I visited the Virginia Holocaust Museum, where their mission is to educate and inspire future generations of Virginians to fight prejudice and indifference.
According to the Anti-Defamation League, there were 1,986 anti-Semitic incidents reported across the United States in 2017, making it the largest single-year increase the organization has ever recorded. ADL Regional Director Duran Exixon says, unfortunately, numerous other minority communities are also being targeted on an increasing basis by acts of hate. We can overcome this as a society, but there is much work to be done.
As the Holocaust recedes in time, it is important for the remaining survivors' stories to be heard.
The Virginia Holocaust Museum is currently hosting the Last Swiss Holocaust Survivor exhibition. Assistant curator of the museum, Angela Rarita, says the exhibit is important for many reasons.
It's a very powerful portrait exhibit, and something that we like to do here at the museum is to tell the individual stories of survivors. The Holocaust is obviously a very complex historical event, and so we like to often focus on individuals as well to show variation, and that experience is varied from person to person.
The museum's emphasis on educating and teaching the dangers of intolerance has a greater significance with the recent rise in anti-Semitic acts.
The Holocaust has a lot of lessons in teaching about the very dangerous realities that can come from those systems of beliefs. And so we find it's very important for people to visit for that reason.
The Last Swiss Holocaust Survivor exhibit will be up until March 27th. For VCU InSight, I'm Maddie Jones.
The Virginia Holocaust Museum is free and open to the public. Visit vaholocaust.org for more information.
French, Spanish, and German are just some of the foreign languages offered for credit in most Virginia high schools. But soon, high school students could have expanded access to another language used by more than 1 million Americans. VCU InSight's Jennifer Hernandez has more.
Jamie Rivera's parents are deaf. This makes running errands without an interpreter difficult.
My parents have adapted to having to write on paper, and then that's how they would communicate.
Jamie says offering sign language to high school students can benefit those with deaf family members.
I know that if I was in high school and American Sign Language was an option, that I would probably do it too, because I'm a second child and I would say my sign language still needs improvement.
That's part of the motivation behind House Bill 84, which would help give high school students credit for taking sign language courses online or through community colleges. Dr. Christine Reed, a professor at VCU's Medical Center, says American Sign Language should qualify for foreign language credit.
ASL is a language in and of itself. It's very different from English. It has different grammar, different syntax, so it's very different, and it's the language of deaf culture.
Eric Raff, director of the Virginia Department for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, is deaf himself. He says ASL classes can help a broad group of people, not just those in the deaf community.
Maybe you have a child with autism, they may not have quite the expressive voice, they could use sign language. It could be used by people with intellectual disabilities.
Dr. Reed says picking up the skill can benefit students, not just socially, but professionally as well.
This skill really enhances their marketability.
And she says the skill can eventually help break down cultural barriers.
Opening their horizons, being able to communicate with others who are different from them.
For VCU InSight, I'm Jennifer Hernandez.
HB 84 passed both the Virginia House and Senate unanimously and is awaiting Governor Ralph Northam's signature.
The film Black Panther has earned over $1 billion worldwide after just 5 weeks in theaters. Its success has inspired many to take an interest in comics. VCU InSight's Chris McKeever has more.
The superhero film Black Panther is taking the world by storm. Along with a predominantly black cast, the film has also broken several records, according to Forbes, including biggest solo superhero launch of all time and biggest grossing North American movie directed by a black filmmaker.
I think it's interesting because it's getting people hyped up in a way about comics that I haven't really seen before.
The positive response that the film has received has helped create an interest in comic arts, which is common for superhero films.
One of the things that started interesting me in printed comic books was the movies.
Josue says his interest was kept alive by the amount of representation and diversity that he saw in the world of comics.
There's been a lot of push for representation in comic books for a long time, but I feel like it's becoming to a point where people are wanting to be represented correctly and legitimately.
With the vast amount of comics in existence, the special collections at Virginia Commonwealth University's Cabell Library holds many.
It's one of the most diverse and largest collections on the East Coast, so we're really lucky to have it.
The special collection started taking donations of comic arts in 1970, and today it holds approximately 175,000 items, 125,000 being comic books. The collection also features comic journals, manga, illustrations, prints, and countless other items. For VCU InSight, I'm Chris McKeever.
The Special Collections at Cabell Library offers research consultations and class visits. Find out more on their website, library.vcu.edu.
Murals have become a vibrant part of the downtown scenery in Richmond. And for one Jackson Ward resident, it's how he gives back to the community. VCU InSight's Leah Bookman has more.
For Richmond native James Thornhill, his journey with art started when he was just a young boy.
My oldest memory is when my mom recognized I had a talent because I didn't really like that academic school thing. And so she brought me my first paint set. That was the paint by number set. And I was just so amazed with the outcome of it.
This quickly became his passion and eventually led him to start painting his own murals all over Jackson Ward. Thornhill says he realized the good he could do in that area by doing something as simple as painting.
Art has a way of transforming a community.
He uses this power to transform the spaces he works in and educate the people who see his work.
If a kid walk outside, he don't see anything, he don't think anything. If he see blank walls, he think blank. So by putting his creative things there, that changes the scope of the community.
Thornhill says he gets his inspiration from history. This leads him to paint historical black figures to remind the community of all that they accomplished. The impact of Thornhill's work is evident to him each time he paints a new piece.
Where kids came around and they asked questions about who is this guy. The parents came around and some of the older people like crying because they were like, wow, this is something my kids can look at, they can see every day. And they were so proud. So I'm like, wow, this feels so good.
When it comes to art, Thornhill wants everyone to remember one thing.
Everything is art. Art is life and art is love. If you got that passion, go for it.
For VCU InSight, I'm Leah Bookman.
Thornhill has various murals all around Richmond and more currently in the works. For more information on him or his art, visit sirjamesthornhill.weebly.com. Recently, Richmond was named one of the most tattooed cities in the U.S. by TotalBeauty.com.
But other Virginia cities are eager to make their own name in the tattooing world. Lakota Smith has more on the celebration of this unique art form.
Hampton Roads celebrated its 8th annual Tattoo Festival in grand style. Taking place at the Hampton Roads Convention Center, the festival featured music, live tattooing, and even a BMX showcase to help bring attention to Hampton's tattooing scene. But this gathering is about more than just getting inked. It's about helping to decrease some of the negative stigma associated with tattoos by showcasing some of the most elegant work that local artists have to offer. One such artist, Jonathan Scribble George, says festivals like this reveal the more positive side of the tattoo culture.
I think it really shows people that, tattooing is not so taboo. It should be more accepted. People get to come in and they get to meet the artists and see we're not all, we're not as bad as what everybody makes it seem.
Other attendees, such as Amanda Lovelace and Tanya Miller, agree and say that festivals are great outlets for artistic expression.
It promotes all different kinds of styles and products, and you can really get a lot of ideas. I just always love the expression of just having art on my body. So then once you get one, then it's two, then it's three. Have fun, get ink.
Conventions like this are an amazing creative outlet for artists and will continue to be ground zero for some of the most beautiful tattoos to be showcased. With VCU InSight, I'm Lakota Smith.
Tattoo festivals like the one held in Hampton Roads are popular in Virginia, and Richmond has its own festival held every fall. For more information, visit tattooingevents.com.
As an entrepreneur, juggling a lot of tasks is a given, but VCU InSight's Kimberly Strother is in studio today with someone who takes multitasking to a whole new level. Kimberly?
I
I'm here today with social entrepreneur Kelly Lemon. Lemon is a UVA and VCU graduate, podcaster, on-air radio personality, and she'll be opening up her own coffee shop very soon. Kelly, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So first things first, kind of give me a little bit of an overview of exactly what you do.
Well, I call myself a social entrepreneur because everything that I do is about fun. It's not about like social impact. It is literally, I am trying to figure out ways for people to socially interact in Richmond, whether that's through food, sports, arts, or education. I think that if we can have fun in one of those four aspects, we can kind of get to know each other and maybe make a change or, kind of bridge the gap in communication. So on-air personality, Radio 1 Richmond. I have my podcast, Coffee with Strangers, that I do with Matt Pachilli. And then I'm opening up a social cafe, Urban Hang Suite, in June so that people can talk to each other over coffee.
That's awesome. And what can you kind of tell me about how you got into this social entrepreneur game? Like, did you start out doing that after college, or?
Well, went to UVA, then immediately landed a job in VCU Athletics. And then from VCU Athletics, my charge was to get students to the games. Back then, y'all weren't going to basketball games. And so after that, I started working in student affairs, and that whole job was about keeping students on campus over the weekends. And so it just became natural for me to create events that were social. That allowed me to meet other people in the Richmond community, and so my name kind of got out there. Now on the sides, I was bartending and having a good time in the club and nightlife scene. My friends decided to open up Mama J's restaurant, and so I started working there part-time while I was still kind of working here at VCU. So again, spreading my name across different parts of the city. Then I got asked to do a couple of TV shows, and then landed my podcast 3 years ago back in 2015. And so, again, it was just a natural thing for me to kind of talk to people, ask people how their day was going, just to be social. So nothing that I thought I'd ever be doing. This is all organic. I decided that I wanted to do things that I love. There's no need to get up in the morning and hate what you're doing. And so I created those opportunities and those places for me to do that.
What would you say your biggest challenges day to day when you're trying to kind of balance all of the different things that you do?
Time. In my mind, I probably need 8 days, 25 hours, and that probably still will not be enough. So a lot of it is time management, saying no to things. I get opportunities a lot. I mean, people ask me all the time, can I have coffee with you? Can you help me with this event? Can you do this? And, I'm quick to say yes, but now I have to say no. With the business opening up, with the focus on the podcast and what I'm doing socially, I have to start saying no to stuff. So that's probably my biggest challenges.
And what can you give a little bit of advice maybe to someone who's trying to start their own podcast or their own kind of brand? What would you say is the biggest challenge they need to overcome?
Specifically with your brand, you need to own it. If you don't love it and if you don't have your friends talking about your brand's probably not going to be that successful. Also, if you want to start a podcast or your own TV show, your own radio show, do it now. There's no need to wait. Technology can give you everything you need in order to, do your own thing. So I would just say own your brand. Make sure that everything that you buy for your brand, like your website, your Instagram, make sure it's all clear and all concise. And then again, just make sure that your village or your backbone supports it so that they're the ones out there supporting things, and be in your own commercials as well. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kelly.
No problem.
Let's send it back to the desk.
Richmond is making some halftime adjustments on a loan for the Washington Redskins training camp facility. The city is refinancing the loan that required Richmond to pay $500,000 a year in cash or services. The new agreement requires Richmond to pay the Redskins $750,000 per year through 2033. Mayor LeVar Stoney called for the change in the deal, which was made in 2013 before he took office. Richmond City Council voted 6-3 in favor of refinancing the new deal. A local brewery in Short Pump is bringing back a popular beverage to raise money for crisis worker relief. Lakota Smith has more on this unique charity event.
Rock Bottom Brewery, located at Short Pump Mall, has brought back their Fire Chief Ale for a limited time to raise money for the Hanover Crew Foundation. CREW, which stands for Crisis Relief for Emergency Workers, aims to raise money to benefit those who work in emergency situations. The money raised by the event goes towards providing relief to emergency workers who may have been injured in their line of duty. Treasurer for the Crew Foundation, Tom Nelson, says that this event is extremely important not just for the funds raised, but also for the exposure their organization gets.
It's been a tremendous boosting on for us because we've got a lot of folks that come out to our event, that learn about us a little bit more, and actually come to our website and come to our other events. So hopefully we can take this into the next 10, 15 years and make the Crew Foundation, as well as the folks at Rock Bottom that are on launch, one of the premier events in the Richmond area.
Head brewer at Rock Bottom, Tanner Chamberlain, says the brewery does this event every year to help look after those who look out for us.
The goal is always to help out the community, and it's a nice way to be able to have fun as well as give back. It's nice to be able to take care of the people that take care of us.
25 cents of every pint of Fire Chief ale sold goes to benefiting the Hanover Crew Foundation, and the ale will be available until April 8th. With VCU InSight, I'm Lakota Smith.
In the past, this event has raised over $700 for the Hanover Crew Foundation. For more information, you can visit hanovercrewfoundation.org.
And that does it for this edition of VCU InSight. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under VCU InSight.
You can also contact us with any stories you'd like to see on our show.
And if you missed our show or would like to watch it again, you can find us on YouTube at VCU InSight.
Thanks for watching. I'm Cynthia Beasley.
And I'm Kairis Manzanares. We'll see you next time.